Marvel Studios and Disney decided to gamble with the release of Echo by dropping the entire series in one day. Did this pay off or not? Well, to talk about whether it was a success or not, we got to look at exactly what phrasing they're using and what we can gather from it. So in case you haven't seen Echo, or maybe you have but you don't realize what happened with it, yes, they dropped it all in one day, and on the same day, it didn't go to just Disney Plus, it also dropped on Hulu, which of course extended its reach and how many eyes you could have on the product. So the first update came at us from Deadline, which was then sort of I guess it took on a life of its own in regards to being shared, confirmed by other outlets and other analytics. Deadline confirmed that both on Hulu and Disney Plus in the United States, it debuted at number 1 by a big margin. Now, what this margin is, you be the guest, because we don't know the actual number. What they're comparing it to, we also don't really know, but it would have to be against Marvel's What If, I would assume, and if not that, probably Secret Invasion in terms of live action. Now again, no numbers have been provided, but it's reportedly in the millions. Now, some of the other Disney Plus series that are the most watched when they drop a first episode or something, they typically get around 10 to 12, 13 million. That's sort of just by the analytics, never really confirmed. So let's say it's doing even a quarter as good. 3 to 4 million, if that's what they got for the first episode, or maybe even the entire series. We don't know how they're looking at it. That's relatively decent, and it's up there with, honestly, most of the Marvel Netflix shows outside of Daredevil. So it's pretty comparable in that regard, and I think that's good. I think it's kind of a impressive debut. Again, yeah, it's going to be a failure compared to something like Miss Marvel, which debuted huge overseas. The biggest thing Disney's released in terms of overseas markets. In the US, it did all right. I mean, this isn't going to even touch that here in the United States, but for such a different product that's age-gated, that's a completely different release strategy, this honestly is pretty good. Yeah, you could argue it's also a failure on one end, but there's no way that Echo was going to do Loki numbers. Let's be real about that. Anybody comparing it to that and going, well, it failed because it's not doing Loki numbers or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you don't say, right? It's like, oh no, is the new shooter going to do as good as the new Call of Duty? Of course not. Known commodity versus a new thing that nobody's really played. Yeah, there's a built-in fan base and expectations versus something completely different. But overall, it's pretty good. Let's say it did 2.5 to 3 million. I mean, that's better than most of the shows that were produced by Marvel Entertainment on TV. That's got to be a win, right?